Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Marchich here with your outlook for October 26, 2018. We have a coastal storm that is going to be approaching the region today, but I do think most of the day is dry, at least for the daylight hours. We will have some rain moving in from the southwest this evening, and we'll start off any partly cloudy skies this morning. We'll give way to mostly cloudy skies this afternoon, increasing clouds as the day wears on. So by the time we get to later in the day, we should be completely overcast. And then we have the rain moving in from southwest to northeast across the region. Question has always been what time this comes in, and we know we have some areas that have trick-or-treat night, some other outdoor activities related to Halloween and whatnot. So the question was how early would that get in here, and would it interrupt those festivities? And it's starting to look like it may hold off just long enough so that the early evening activities will be okay. Once we get to mid-evening and later, forget it. Okay, so if you have anything going on with the kids, typically that's like a 6 to 8 p.m. type thing for most areas, for trick-or-treat night. You might get away with nothing at all or very, very little at the tail end. Okay, so we go over to we're going to go over to the NAM high-res future simulator radar in a little bit, but I just want to give you an idea that there is hope for that at least this evening, and we'll continue to monitor that throughout the day today. Here's a look at the evening hours, and here's the global models bringing the front edge of the precipitation. Kind of, if you dissect our area, our coverage area, northwest to southeast, the areas northeast, that line is showing dry, and this area down here is wet. However, these light grays in the middle here are just showing very light stuff moving in here during the evening hours. So I think the heaviest period of rain that we're going to be dealing with, rain and wind, is going to be between 2 a.m. on Saturday, so just after midnight Friday night, all the way into 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. That is going to be your worst time frame for the rain and wind impacts. And we're going to narrow the wind impacts down a little bit further once we get past the 7-day outlook. I'm going to run through the 7 days first like we did yesterday. We'll go back and revisit the impacts expected for this coastal storm. So that we're going to have the system move through, and it's going to be a most of Saturday deal. Here is some rain that's going to be taking place here on Saturday morning into the afternoon. Then we start to taper off the showers during the course of the afternoon into the evening hours, and then it will end from south to north during the course of the evening. We'll take a little bit longer areas further north, and it'll end quicker further south. So this moves off to the north, and then we should have I'll call it mostly cloudy here. Might even be partly to mostly cloudy here on Sunday, but we'll just call it mostly cloudy just to be safe. Looks like clouds roll back in on Sunday night, and another little weak shortwave here is going to bring a few showers. Not a real big deal, but a few showers are going to rotate through Sunday night and early Monday morning. Could be a stray shower Monday afternoon also, keeping it mostly cloudy. This is all the rotating energy around that upper level low that's going to continue to pivot out of the region. And then we go to Tuesday, and we're expecting partly to mostly sunny skies behind this. It will be a little bit cooler on Tuesday. On the cooler side, well, it's going to be cool the next couple days. I shouldn't say it's going to be a little bit cooler. It's going to maintain the cooler temperatures on Tuesday, and then we're going to start to warm things up here on Wednesday because we're going to get a southwesterly flow out ahead of a cold front that's going to be approaching, and it's going to take its time moving eastward. It's going to kind of run into this high pressure off these things. It's hard to see here, but this high pressure, a ridge building, that's going to get the temperatures up along the southeastern U.S. coastline. So this entire area here is going to have a surge of warmth coming in here, and nothing too crazy for our area, but I think temperatures will get back up in the 60s by the time we get to Thursday at the very least, maybe even Wednesday in some locations. And this frontal boundary will finally come through here later Thursday or Thursday night, and then we'll go back to cooler temperatures behind it once that front clears for next weekend. So let's go back to the individual storm that I wanted to focus on, which is this coastal storm. What kind of impacts we can expect. First of all, in terms of total rainfall, here's that system moving up to the north and bringing that heavy rain. In terms of total rainfall for this system, again, Central PA has always been the jackpot area where we're expecting the highest amounts of rain. So this is a 1.5 to 2 inch rain amounts in these areas that I just circled. Also by the shore points, also a 1 to 1.5 at least, locally higher. But it continues to show this dry slot in the middle. Okay, and that's been shown on several model cycles, so I'm starting to believe that this is more likely than not. But even so, you're still getting in the 3/4 of an inch to an inch, maybe up to 1.25 inches in this dry slot area. So it's not like, okay, well, we're in a dry slot, we're not getting anything. No, that's not happening. This thing is not shifting. It's not going to move east and miss anybody or anything like that. This is going to hit, and this is a definite for Saturday, Friday night and Saturday. So there's no chance that this misses. It's just a matter of where the dry slot is going to set up, and where that does, you will be stuck only in 3/4 of an inch. Since the sarcasm there, only 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches. Elsewhere, you're an inch, inch and a half, 2 inches out here in this region, 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Maybe some locally higher amounts in some spots, but that's the general idea for the rainfall. And if we go over to the NAM, now I showed you this is the latest NAM that came in this evening. This is the forward advance of the accumulated rainfall through 8 p.m. And you see where the line is, right down here by near the Mason-Dixon line. So everything up here doesn't have any accumulated rainfall. Doesn't mean there can't be showers a little bit further north. They're just not really amounting to much. So I don't think if you're up in these areas here, you don't have anything to worry about or too much to worry about. We're going to watch it closely. It's an awfully tough call, but I think the early evening favors a better time frame to be dry than mid to late evening. Okay, but then the total rainfall here on the NAM high res. General idea of inch, inch and a half, localized 2-inch amounts in some spots, but it doesn't really have too much of a dry slot. It's trying to have a little hint at something right in here of only sarcasm, 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches. So I think somewhere in here in eastern Pennsylvania, western Jersey is going to get a little bit of a dry slot. It might not fare as well as areas in the coastal regions and out here in central PA, but with all the rain that we've had over the past 4 or 5 months, I'm sure that the dry slot will be welcome this time. We really don't need it. Okay, so then the biggest impact, in my opinion, is the winds. And since it's a prolonged wind event, again, this is a just after midnight Friday night, 2 a.m. on Saturday through 2 p.m. on Sunday is going to be your windiest time frame. Wind gusts 35 to 45 miles per hour possible, and even some locally higher gusts than that in isolated cases could reach 50. We do have this look here on Friday night. Again, this is after between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Saturday. Okay, and then the windiest time frame we can narrow down to 6 hours, and I think that is the 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday time frame, and that's where you're going to have most of your 35 to 45 with isolated gusts of 50 in a few spots occur. So after we get past this point, though, the winds will start to weaken gradually. Still kind of breezy, though, through the end of the day, and then overnight it starts to die down. So that's your impacts for the wind. And I think because it's a prolonged event, that will lead to some outages. Not necessarily the highest wind speeds being super high or anything like that, but because it's prolonged, it is so long, going for such a long period of time, and you also have a saturated ground, that could lead to some outages. And we work closely with some electric companies that plan for this stuff, and we see this all the time. There's more of the long duration of the winds being high that causes the issues, and I think we're going to have some outage issues here on Friday night, Saturday morning, maybe Saturday afternoon as well. Finally, snowfall. We talked about this in the last video. This ship has just about sailed. This is just indicating some brief mixing at the onset in the far northern areas, highest elevations of north central and northeast PA. Don't expect much here, folks. This is just going to be maybe some snowflakes mixing in, and that's about it. The all goes over to rain very quickly on Friday night, so this is not a big deal. And again, we're going to continue to follow this coastal system over the next day or day and a half here, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, this is kind of like a very hyperbolic event in terms of how the media covers it. Makes it sound like it's going to like the end of the world. It's really not the end of the world. We've seen plenty of rain. My biggest concern here is just the wind, really, more than anything else, is the wind that could lead to some outages on Friday night and Saturday. I'm Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Marchers. That is your outlook for October 26, 2018. Have a great Friday.